Hey guys, by Austin Ramos, and this Sunday, November 19th, the Miami Dolphins defeated the Las Vegas Raiders 20-13 in a pretty impressive game. Overall, I think the game itself was very fun and the atmosphere was awesome. Raider fans were really cool. Dolphin fans were into it just as much. Probably hoping for a bigger separation in terms of the final score, but you get what you get. Dolphins improved to 7-3 and are 5-0 at home, and then the Las Vegas Raiders are 1-5 on the road, 5-6 on the season. First loss with Antonio Pierce at the helm at the interim head coach. Overall, though, I was rather impressed with the Raiders, and a couple of weeks ago, I wouldn't have said the same thing should the Dolphins have played them earlier with McDaniel as their head coach. But yeah, Dolphins a little underwhelming, but got out with the win, and defense made a big stand, and that's what we'll talk about in a second. But first and foremost, ball security was a big point of emphasis by me. Tua first drive of the game, fumbles the ball. Not a good look for Tua over here. But guess what? Makes up for it. Finds Tyreek Hill. And what does he do? He takes it all the way to the end zone, galloping in there. Oh, man. And guess what? The Raiders have a guy like that on the other side. Just not as fast. Bit of a push off, but guys, don't be picky. Devontae Adams is that dude. And with this new system or the way the Raiders are operating right now, they're getting him involved. How about this for Tyreek Hill? A little human pinball machine, huh? No touchdown here, but a big game later on in that drive, 4th and 3, and screen pass. Flashes of Flores regime against the Raiders. Not the best game plan, but at least it wasn't in your own end zone. Fumble here by the Dolphins. Raiders recovered like all the Dolphin fumbles. A lot more miscues by the Dolphins here. Ball security was another thing that I mentioned once again and again. Interception by Tua, not a good look. But Tyreek Hill, man, just, on the day, I think almost had 150 yards. Is absolute stellar performance by him. Jalen freaking Ramsey, guys. Oh, what a huge addition he's been to this defense. This secondary ended off the day with 3 interceptions as a Miami Dolphin, so that's huge by him. We'll talk about that in a second. But Tyreek Hill, man, pretty sensational day by him, if you ask me. And then who other than Jalen Phillips to get his first career interception off of the almost sack by Christian Wilkins? He had to throw out of the sack, and guess who was there? Jalen Phillips. And I think this is the one that sealed the game, guys. 4th quarter INT by Jalen Ramsey. Get up and get there. Hand under the ball. Does kind of hurt all the way on the way down because he got up there. And this is what's huge about this guy. Jalen Ramsey is a guy that, similarly to Tyreek last year, wasn't crazy about the trade, but it makes sense. You have a huge playmaker, and this is what he brings to the table for the Miami Dolphins. And that's what you want the Miami Dolphins to have. A lockdown corner alongside Xavier Howard, who is an absolute lockdown corner. Like, the reason, I could be wrong. I don't know if Xavier Howard played this game, but if he did, they didn't throw his way at all. I don't know why Aiden O'Connell was testing Jalen Ramsey a lot, but I'm pretty sure he got some good plays on Jalen Ramsey, but Jalen Ramsey, I think, got the best of him, especially in a game that was a one-possession game, final plays of the game, and chuck it up into the end zone. It was a good ball. It was a good ball, but Jalen Ramsey played that stellar. Enough of that. Let's talk about what I said the Dolphins needed to do to win, and then we'll get into some stats. I said stop the run game. Dolphins executed that pretty well. Overall, rushing yards, the Raiders had 36, all right? And then that led to forcing turnovers, which the Dolphins did. The Dolphins and the Raiders left the day both with 3 turnovers, so we'll talk about that in a second. Ball security was a big thing, and the Dolphins, I wouldn't say were loose with the ball, but 2 fumbles and an interception, which is never good, but you take what you get. Aside from that, let me see. The last thing was to protect Tua, and he was sacked once for a loss of 2 yards. So not the whole worst day. pretty clean Jersey day for Tua, if, like what I alluded to in the game preview. Anyways, let's talk about some stats. We have the Las Vegas Raiders had 12 first downs. Miami Dolphins had 21. Third down efficiency, 3 of 14 for the Raiders, 3 of 11 for the Dolphins. Both defenses were making stands on third down. Fourth down, defenses really stepped up. 0 for 2 for the Raiders and 0 for 1 for the Miami Dolphins. And then what else can we talk about in terms of team stats? Red zone made per attempt. Raiders were 0 for 1 and the Dolphins were 1 for 2 with that fourth down stop. And then penalties, pretty even, 5 for 41 for the Raiders and then 5 for 44 for the Miami Dolphins. Time of possession, Raiders 27.45, Miami Dolphins 32.15. And that's pretty much it. Let's get into the individual stats. So Aiden O'Connell, I salute him. He had a pretty good game. I wouldn't say a stellar performance, but definitely one that he gave the Dolphins a run for their money, and he wasn't playing all too bad, but they did get a little too pass happy, especially late in the game. Aiden O'Connell, 24 of 41, 271 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, sacked twice for a loss of 11. There could have been more sacks and there could have been less INTs should Aiden O'Connell just tuck the ball and went down. But he's a young guy and he's going to still be going through those growing pains. Tua went 28 of 39, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, sacked once for a loss of 2 yards. Then rushing, Raiders had 36 total rushing yards, and Josh Jacobs had 39, so -6 yards from Trey Tucker was the equivalent of that. Miami Dolphins, 99 rush yards, with Raheem Mostert having 22 carries for 86 yards. And then Achane got a carry for 1 yard, left the game. Let's hope he didn't re-aggravate his knee injury, but if he did, it's a little upsetting because I was on the fence of letting Achane come back so soon. If he was good to go, then I understand, but he just is so young into his career. You don't want to continuously let this young running back have setback after setback. So let's hope everything's all right there. I haven't checked too much into the status of his injury. But 99 total rushing yards and 86 came from Raheem Mostert. And then Las Vegas receiving had 271 yards. Devontae Adams, 7 receptions, 82 yards, 1 touchdown, longest of 46. Jacoby Myers, 4 receptions, 49 yards. Michael Mayer, 4 receptions, 46 yards. And Hunter Renfrow, 5 receptions, 42. Those 4 guys were massive contributions to the Raiders' offense this game. Not only Devontae Adams, but Jacoby Myers really more so possession type of catch, but the one that was really a possession catch was a Hunter Renfrow, 5 receptions for 5 targets. And there was, I think the final drive was pretty much the Hunter Renfrow drive. Guy was just doing everything possible to help this team win, which is pretty cool to see by Hunter Renfrow, especially since this season so far he hasn't been too much involved in the offensive scheme for the Raiders. For the Miami Dolphins receiving, 325 receiving total yards. Tyreek Hill, 10 receptions, 146 yards, 1 touchdown, longest of 38, and 11 total targets. So 1 drop pass by Tyreek. Jalen Waddle, 4 receptions, 55 yards. Robbie Chosen, 2 receptions, 39 yards. Robbie Chosen, interesting timeline. I was waived by the team earlier this week, got signed back to the practice squad, and got to play in this game. So, pretty interesting sequence of events there for Robbie Chosen. And then Savon Ahmed, 3 receptions, 25 yards, 1 touchdown. Let's see. Fumbles. So we have Julian Hill, who fumbled, and I believe it was recovered by Marcus Epps. If I'm not mistaken, it was Divine Diablo. Vice versa for the Tua fumble. And then Vegas Raiders defense. Robert Spillane having himself a good 2-week stretch, this time leading the team in tackles, last week getting the game-winning interception against the New York Jets. 13 total tackles, 6 solo, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 pass deflection. And then Trayvon Moorhead, he had 10 total, 7 solo. And then Nate Hobbs, he was kind of all over the field too. 8 total tackles, 6 solo, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 pass deflection. Isaiah Palamau had a pass deflection. So did Max Crosby, tackle for a loss, sack, and 2 QB hits. Dolphins did a pretty good job limiting him today, which was pretty good to see. Malcolm Kononsi had a QB hit, and that's pretty much it for the Las Vegas Raiders' significant defensive stats. Guys, I alluded to earlier, Xavier Howard, I wasn't sure if he played the game or not because barely was called on in terms of defending passes, leading the team with total tackles, 7 total, 5 solo, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection. Jerome Baker, same totals, 7 total, 5 solo, and then Jalen Phillips right behind them, 6 totals, 5 solo, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 pass deflection, 3 QB hits. Andrew Van Ginkel, 2 pass deflections. Kader Kohu, a tackle for a loss and a pass deflection. Christian Wilkins, a tackle for a loss and 2 QB hits. And Zach Sealer, a pass deflection. Jalen Ramsey, 2 pass deflections. And last but not least, Raekwon Davis, 1 QB hit. Isaiah Polamau had a interception for no return. And then Jalen Phillips had an interception for a return for 5 yards. And then Jalen Ramsey had 2 interceptions. The first one was returned for 3 yards, and the second one was a touchback. No kick returns, punt returns. DeAndre Carter, 1 return for 12 yards. And then Cedric Wilson, 3 returns for 30 yards, longest of 14. And kicking, Daniel Carson, 2 of 2 for field goals, longest of 47, 1 for 1 on extra points. And then Jay Sanders, 2 for 3 on field goals, longest of 51, 2 for 2 on extra points. And then punting, AJ Cole, 6 total punts, 315 total yards, 2 of which were in the 20, longest of 61. And then Miami Dolphins, Jake Bailey, 3 total punts for 143 yards, longest of 66, and 2 of which were in the 20. As far as it stands right now, the Las Vegas Raiders currently sit in second place in the AFC West, but the Broncos are currently playing against the Minnesota Vikings, and the Kansas City Chiefs are yet to play on Monday night, and the Chargers, I believe, lost today, so not a good look for them. Miami Dolphins 7-3, Buffalo 6-5, New York 4-6, New England Patriots 2-8. Yeah, all that is settled for the AFC East at least. Anyways, awesome game for the Miami Dolphins. A lot closer than what people hoped and expected. And aside from that, I think they did a really good job of handling business and gritting out this win. They could have easily let this one slip away from them, and they didn't allow that, and that was the biggest takeaway personally. I touched on it earlier, but stop the running game. Dolphins allowed 36 rushing yards. Forced turnovers. Dolphins forced 3 interceptions, and it got to the quarterback 2 times in terms of bringing him down, but could have been more, but he also threw out some sacks, and some of them led to interceptions. And then offensively, obviously run the ball was good. It wasn't a phenomenal running game, but it was well enough that it was complementary to this passing game, which the Dolphins took full advantage of, especially Tyreek Hill. And then last but not least, protect Tua. Dolphins were able to do that. The one takeaway is ball security. We cannot allow so many fumbles, especially losing them. Interception, I understand. It was an overthrow over Waddle. I understand. Like, it was a bad throw. It was a bad throw. The 2 fumbles cannot happen. I understand Tua's trying to get the first down. So close to having his knee down before the ball starts coming loose. The Julian Hill one, that one was bad. Ball got ripped out of his hand. So, it is what it is. Aside from that, very pleased with this Dolphins performance. And they improved to 5-0 at home, and they don't have another home game for basically a month, which is it feels like a month, but it's really 2 weeks. Well, technically 3, but yeah, it feels like a really long time. Next game for the Miami Dolphins, November 24th, Black Friday, 3 o'clock. Don't forget it. It's a prime game. It's the inaugural Black Friday game. So tune into that. Jets are going haywire right now, and benched Zach Wilson. Don't want to trash him, but yeah, he hasn't been great, and now they turned to Tim Doyle I want to say Tim Doyle, but I don't think it's Tim Doyle, whatever. They turned to their backup, and he wasn't any better, but we'll see who starts against the Miami Dolphins next week. As far as things go for the Las Vegas Raiders, I think things are looking promising. But they do play the Kansas City Chiefs next week, so not so good for you guys. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Dolphins have 2 straight road games, and then 3 straight home games, and then a road game, and then a home game to close off the season. Pretty much at the halfway point, over officially. 7-3. I mean, Dolphin fans, I don't think you can ask for anything more right now. I think they've been playing, I wouldn't say too above expectations. Like, above expectations would have been undefeated. But currently 7-3, you're winning against the teams you should be beating. Yes or no? Yes, 100%. Lost to Buffalo, lost to Eagles, lost to the Chiefs. Should you have won those games? Not the Buffalo one. They got smoked in that one. Should you have won the Eagles game? Not necessarily, but the chance was there. Should you have won that Chiefs game? Absolutely. Yeah, it is what it is. But listen, the Dolphins can play with anybody, and they're gonna have a true test. I don't want to scold any of these teams, but probably against the Cowboys. That would be their next truest test. But the upcoming games against the Jets, Commanders, Titans, and Jets again, no slouches there. I think all those teams will give the Dolphins a very good fight defensively. The Titans might be the worst of the bunch, and it's unfortunate for them, and that's going to be our primetime Monday night game. Hopefully it doesn't get flexed out. Please don't. I've been looking forward to having a night game at Hard Rock Stadium all season long. But yeah. Oh, yeah. Dolphins 20, Raiders 13, and pretty electric game, and met some cool Raider fans, so pretty happy that happened. Aside from that, big Dolphins win, 7-3, still first in the division. Bills are right on their tail, but I do believe the Buffalo Bills are on a bye this week. If not, it should be within the next week or so. They go on a bye after their next game, so they have a Week 13 bye. They play Philadelphia next week in Philadelphia, so good luck to the Buffalo Bills. Just hopefully the Eagles can help separate things a little bit more for the Dolphins, and that would be great. But yeah, aside from that, big win by the Dolphins. Let's keep it going. Coming out of the bye, coming off the loss, very well. All right, so let's hope Achan's okay. Ramsey kind of knocked the wind out of himself. I don't know if he hurt his ribs for sure, but definitely knocked the wind out of himself in that game-winning interception. So that's what I love to see. Defense to end off the game. Sensational. Chef's kiss. All right. That wraps up this game, post-game review. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.